7 years ago, you had different opinions, different fears, different things that made you laugh, different people you trusted, a different sense of what mattered. And yet, you call that person you. You assume a continuous thread running from that version of yourself to this one, a single identity persisting through time. But science has spent decades quietly dismantling that assumption, and what it has found in its place is both stranger and more liberating than most people are prepared for. Let's start with the biology. Your body replaces most of its cells continuously. Red blood cells live for roughly 4 months before being replaced. Skin cells are replaced every 2 to 4 weeks. The cells lining your gut are replaced every few days. Liver cells regenerate roughly every year, and bone cells, which seem permanent, are replaced over a cycle of roughly 10 years. The exact timeline varies by cell type, but the principle holds. The physical substance of your body is not the physical substance it was 7 years ago. The atoms in your bones, your skin, your blood, most of them have been replaced by entirely different atoms. You are, in a very literal sense, made of different matter than you were 7 years ago. But here is where it gets more interesting, because the neurons in your brain are an exception. Most of your neurons are not replaced. The neurons you were born with are largely the ones you still have, which might suggest that the brain, and therefore the self, remains constant even as the body changes. But that conclusion would be wrong, because what neurons do is not what neurons are, and what neurons do changes constantly. In 2013, neuroscientist Michael Batt at the University of Pennsylvania published research on what he called synaptic remodeling. The connections between your neurons, the synapses, are not fixed structures. They are constantly forming, strengthening, weakening, and dissolving. Every experience you have changes your brain's wiring. Every memory you form alters the physical architecture of your neural network. Every skill you practice, every relationship you invest in, every trauma you experience, every idea you encounter, all of it leaves a structural trace in the physical connections between your neurons. The brain you have today is not the same way as the brain you had 7 years ago. Not slightly differently, significantly differently, in ways that change how you perceive, how you respond, how you think, and what you feel. The self that lives in that brain is not the same self. But what does this mean for identity? Philosopher Derek Parfit spent most of his career at Oxford thinking about exactly this question. His conclusion was radical and uncomfortable. Personal identity, Parfit argued, is not what we think it is. We assume that there is a single persisting self, a you, that lives inside your body and carries forward through time. But Parfit argued that this self is a fiction. Not a convenient fiction, a genuinely misleading one. What actually exists, he argued, is a series of overlapping mental states connected by psychological continuity, shared memories, consistent values, connected beliefs, but not unified by any single persisting entity. The you of 7 years ago and the you of today are connected, but they are not the same. They are related, the way a parent is related to a child, the way a river upstream is related to the same river downstream. Continuous, but not identical. Parfit called this the reductionist view, and he found, somewhat unexpectedly, that accepting it made certain things easier rather than harder. If there is no fixed self to protect, then change becomes less threatening. If the self is a process rather than a thing, then growth is not a betrayal of who you are. It is simply what happens when a process continues. But here is what neuroscience has added to Parfit's philosophical framework. In 2010, psychologist Dan McAdams at Northwestern University published research on what he called the narrative self. His argument was that the self is not a fixed entity and not a mere illusion. It is a story. Specifically, a story we tell about ourselves to ourselves and to others, that gives coherence and continuity to what would otherwise be a disconnected sequence of experiences, beliefs, and behaviors. We call this story our identity, and we revise it constantly, mostly without noticing. Every time something significant changes, a relationship, a belief, a value, a loss, a discovery, we edit the story. Sometimes small edits, sometimes we rewrite entire chapters. And crucially, we revise not just what the story contains going forward, we revise the past. Psychologist Michael Ross at the University of Waterloo has studied what he calls implicit theories of stability and change. His research found something striking. When people believe a current trait or attribute is positive, they tend to remember their past selves as having been similar, as having always been this way. When they believe a current trait is negative, they tend to remember their past selves as having been worse, as having grown and improved. We reconstruct our past selves to fit the story we are currently telling. The person you remember being 7 years ago is not an accurate record. It is a reconstruction shaped by who you are now, what you currently value, and the narrative you are currently building. You have not just become a different person, you have retroactively revised the person you were. But here is the part that should change something practical in how you live. Because if the self is a story, and stories can be rewritten, then the constraints you believe are permanent may not be. Clinical psychologist Dan Siegel at UCLA has spent decades studying what he calls the narrative integration of identity. His research found that people who develop a coherent, flexible narrative of their own experience, one that acknowledges change, integrates difficult chapters, and allows for revision, show measurably greater psychological well-being than people whose self-narrative is rigid, fixed, or fragmented. The healthiest self-concept is not the most stable one, it is the one that can update, the one that can hold change without fracturing, the one that can say, I was that person, and I am not that person anymore, and both of those things are true without contradiction. In Buddhist philosophy, this idea is ancient. The concept of Anatta, non-self, holds that what we call the self is not a fixed, permanent entity, but an ongoing process, a flowing, changing, moment-to-moment arising, not a noun, a verb. And the suffering that comes from clinging to a fixed self-concept, from insisting that you are a particular kind of person and must remain so, is, in this view, unnecessary. You are not the same person you were 7 years ago. The atoms in your body are mostly different. The connections in your brain are significantly different. The beliefs, values, and fears you hold have shifted in ways small and large, and the story you tell about yourself has been edited, quietly, continuously, often without your awareness, to make sense of all that change. This is not loss. This is what being alive looks like from the inside. The philosopher Heraclitus said that you cannot step in the same river twice, because the river is never the same river. And neither are you. But here is what that makes possible. The version of you that exists right now is not the final version. The beliefs you hold today about what you are capable of, what you deserve, what kind of person you are, none of them are permanent. They are stories, and stories can be rewritten. Not by pretending the past chapters didn't happen, not by denying the person you were, but by continuing the process, by adding new chapters, by allowing the next 7 years to do what the last 7 did, change you in ways you cannot currently predict, into someone you cannot currently fully imagine. The river keeps moving, and the water that arrives is never the water that was there before.